When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali. Today we're going to be looking at our best bets and fades of the week at tracks like Fairgrounds, Oaklawn Park, Gulfstream, and we'll look at Tampa Bay Downs, who has the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby on the road to the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. Before we jump in, it is a reminder that Derby Week tickets and Spring Meet tickets are on sale, and also the Derby menu has been revealed. So there are things such as grilled beef tips with Kentucky peppercorn sauce, and my personal favorite, duck fat roasted fingerling potatoes. All right, let's move on to our best bets of the week, and I will start things off with Darin today. So, Darin, what is your best bet? One second, Darin. I don't think we can hear you.
1 second, Darin.
Audio difficulties.
There we go. Now.
Oh,
Popped back off.
It popped back off.
I think our producer Gelman kept muting me.
There you go.
That might be the case. Always have to try.
We'll try that again. Yeah. So the great card at Tampa Bay, obviously supported by a series of stakes races, and one of those is the Columbia Stakes, which is set for 3-year-olds to go a mile on the turf. Race number 7 kicks off a pick 5. I really like Early Adopter in this spot, coming off of a solid third place finish, beating a half length in the Central Park. You're going to get a look at him from earlier on in his career. We'll have a replay bringing up his maiden victory up at Saratoga. The thing I like about him was that he debuted over firm ground at Saratoga, showed rapid acceleration. You're going to see a look at him on the far outside there, obviously in the Klarovich stable colors. He's going to pick these horses up and really level off nicely here once he kind of switches sticks and the rider gets into him the last 16th of a mile. Right there goes to the right hand, and you see the horse level off nicely to get up. Very professional debut. Not always easy to win, going 2 turns upon debut as a 2-year-old, especially over what is typically a speed-favoring inner turf course at Saratoga. But Early Adopter was able to do that. He wasn't quite as sharp in the Pilgrim Stakes behind Zulu Kingdom, where he prompted the pace a little bit more prominently. That was over yielding ground, though. Then came back over firm going in the Central Park at Aqueduct, got back to his closing tactics, and just came up a half a length short in what I thought was a very strong performance. Now, he's 6-1 in this spot, and I really do like that price. You take a look at some of his mean rivals in this field, including Zulu Kingdom, who's coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf for Chad Brown, a horse that did get the better of my top selection 2 starts back in the Pilgrim. But again, I do prefer the closing tactics of my selection here. Reagan's Wit, who's 3-1 on the morning line for Sherry DeVoe off a blowout victory. That race was a bit weird, though. I know it came back with a good figure, but they went really quick early, and then he made a big move into what was a really slowed down tempo, including a 26-second third quarter. So I think that the look of the move is a little bit more than you think in terms of how impressive it was, because these other horses in front of him were really coming back to him pretty quickly, whereas Early Adopter is a type that can really accelerate late in the race, and that's what I'm going to look for him to do here, getting the blinkers on with Tyler Gaffley on for Chad Brown at a number.
I considered fading Zulu Kingdom as my best fade of the week, and I saw where you took Early Adopter. He's definitely one that I took a look at. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Got a chance to run huge, I think, for Chad Brown in there. As far as that Reagan's Wit, I did think that was still a very eye-catching performance, and he was flattered by the fact that this Thermos Cat came back and won what I thought was a tough maiden special weight on Risen Star Week. Reagan's Wit just, had beaten him by nearly 10 lengths, was brilliant that day. And then even I thought Dream On, this horse is coming off an odds-on allowance win at Gulfstream Park in January. I think you can't overlook his chances. So this race really came up intriguing. I think the undercard has several fascinating stakes at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday, and at 6-1 on the morning line, I could see why you like early adopter.
I missed a few points. I think I cut out for a second, but I'm with you on Reagan's Wit. Also looking intriguing, that late pace rating of a 98 last out. But I think you got a good one, Darin, and Tyler Gaffleone's certainly capable. Doesn't matter that Flavian opted for Zulu Kingdom. I think you're getting a great price with a great horse from the rail. James, what's your best bet?
Number 5, Outrageously, will cut back to a favorable sprint distance in Saturday's 9th race at Oaklawn Park. I'm going to ignore her first 4 starts on synthetics or at a mile and focus on Outrageously's performances 2 and 3 starts back. That was when she finally got to what she does best, which are dirt sprints. Jordan Blair cut her back 3 starts back in a claimer at Churchill Downs on Breeders' Cup weekend, and she won that day by 7.5 lengths. Then he brings her back a month later here on this closing weekend against, I thought, a really nice starter allowance field. The third place finisher came back and won by open lengths out of this race, Cairo Street. So Outrageously, they got away with one running her for a tag 3 back because she's clearly, I think, can hold her own against entry-level allowance rivals at a sprint based on those 2 efforts at Churchill Downs last fall. She got an 86 Brisnet speed rating for the first one, and the second one at Saturday 6 furlong distance, she got an 89 figure. That number looms real large, and I think at 12-1 on the morning line, I'm getting all the value in this race. So I'm going to take a shot with Outrageously in race 9 at Oaklawn Saturday.
Yeah, I was looking forward to hearing your comments on her because I remember her when she came to the races last year at Turfway as a 3-year-old. Jonathan Thomas had her. She was a $57,000 daughter of Practical Joke. They debuted her for 15. She got claimed upon debut. Did not run all that well with the exception of showing early speed. Then kind of a similar performance when stretched out next time. Then she finally was able to break her maiden third time out. They brought her back for $10,000 off that maiden win, and she just completely stopped and then went to the sideline for about 6 months. But she's come back a completely different horse. And now, looks like a player in an entry-level allowance company running for $130,000 when she was just about a 10 to 15 claimer before she went to the sideline. So she's a bit of an anomaly wrapped inside of a riddle for me, and I'm curious to see how she runs here.
It's a great price, and I thought there was another intriguing long shot in here in the 8, Roman Grace, who's got early speed and making her second start for Mike Maker, but was previously in Todd Pletcher's barn, had a pair of 89 Brisnet speed figures 2 and 3 back, and then didn't have a good showing last out at Oaklawn, but eligible to improve, adding blinkers, and Mike Maker wins 15% of the time with horses making their second start with him. So thought another long price or greater price too if you want to look for a long shot here. I think it's a good chance to play some bigger prices. Well, I'll take it over to Fairgrounds on Saturday for the opener, the start of the early pick 5, and I'm going with number 6. She's in the Army now at 3-1. This is a 5-year-old mare who is 2 for 13 lifetime, but had a huge win in her lone try at Fairgrounds 2 back. It was a 6 furlong claimer for non-winners of 2. She ran away with it by 13 lengths over a muddy track, and there's rain in the forecast, so we're probably going to have some similar conditions at Fairgrounds on Saturday. She's been working sharply, put in a bullet 3 furlong workout on March 1st, and dropping in class off a 5th place effort as the favorite last out in a claiming race at Oaklawn, where she had a 3.5 length lead in the stretch and then caved in, but she could improve here. Going back to Fairgrounds, Wayne Catalano is a 28% winner with beaten favorites and a 21% winner at the claiming level. Declan Cannon picks up the mount, so looking at the field here, it's a small field, but this is the co-second choice on the morning line, and I think has a good chance to beat that morning line favorite for Lonnie Briley, who shows up at Fairgrounds.
Yeah, you're doing your best impression of me on a day with stakes races everywhere. You go to the $15,000 card at the Fairgrounds. But, no, I agree. There's not a ton of early speed in the race. Dave for the Gray did show speed last time, but that's at Delta Downs. That 6.5 furlongs at Delta is a 2-turn event, and you could see the rather slow fractions to the half. whereas she's in the Army now, gets to the front in 45 and 46. I think she's going to make the lead easy here. I think she's going to be out by 3-4 lengths, and I agree. I think she completely lays over this field, and she's a stone cold single for me as well.
Yep. Let's move over to our fades of the week. James, who are you fading at a short price?
Well, number 2, Channel Check in Saturday's 12th race at Tampa Bay Downs will make her career debut in this race. We have got Ashley's fade up there, but we'll get those technically up there. There it is, 2-1, the 2-horse in race 12 at Tampa. This is the finale, and it's a 1.16 miles maiden special weight on turf for 3-year-old fillies. The thing with Channel Check is she's an English-bred daughter of Night of Thunder, who's making her career debut for Chad Brown. And in her last work at Payson Park, she has the fastest of 7 workers, a bullet work. So I reckon she'll get bet off of that work, but going 2 turns in this spot against some horses with experience, I think I have a better chance, and I'll look to play against Channel Check at short odds. I'll mention real quickly her stablemate, number 8, Lady Authentic, is listed at 7-2 with Tyler Gaffleone. I liked her runner-up effort last. I thought that she came back from a freshening with a good effort last time. Chad Brown's freshened her in advance of this race. She's got a big chance. Number 7, Corain, is 8-1 for Clement's got a chance going dirt to turf. And I'll even mention a runner for Grand Motion, number 11, Port Vosé. I'm sure I'm badgering that pronunciation, Darin. But this is a Medaglia d'Oro filly coming back, stretching to a route for her second career start by Medaglia d'Oro. So I like others from the outside with experience in this full field maiden special weight. I'm going to try to beat the morning line favorite in Channel Check.
Yeah, this is a loaded race with a lot of different ways to go. You had Native Rose, who completely outran her odds upon debut and nearly passed the entire field at 117-1. There's 2 other intriguing first-time starters. Open Lane from the inside for Christophe Clement is a daughter of Candy Ride. She's been working for quite some time for her debut. She's out of a mare who was a winner on the racetrack in Kenny Lane, who has produced 4 winners, including a stakes winner from 7 starters. One of them have won on turf. I thought the other intriguing first-time starter was Grand Motions, also daughter of Twirling Candy Gum. She is out of Spellbind. This is her 3rd starter to make it to the races. She's akin to a winner on the track as well. Motion typically has them kind of get better with racing age, but it's worth noting that Irad Ortiz does see fit to pick up the mount here. So in a race with a lot of different options, Channel Check, she's certainly a win player, but with Flavian Pratt for Chad Brown, she's going to definitely take a ton of action here. And I think if you do select right in terms of an alternative to her, you're going to get paid handsomely.
Chad Brown is all over this card, and he has a ton of morning line favorites on this card too, but I think this is a good one to try to play against. And I think, Darin, you might be playing against another Chad Brown runner too.
Yeah, no offense to Chad, but he just typically gets overbet in a lot of spots, especially when he brings horses in on big days. And race number 4 is a really good entry-level allowance on the turf, going 1 1/8 miles. Number 4, Pride's Crossing, is a 4-year-old that's had some spacing in between her races. She debuted as a 3-year-old in May at Churchill Downs, and she ran extremely well that day, winning at 7 furlongs. Then she went to the sidelines for 7+ months and came back in an entry-level allowance at Aqueduct, where she was sent off as the 8-5 favorite, had a tough beginning that day and faltered. This is a filly that's now making her 3rd start for her 3rd different barn. She was a $1.3 million Keeneland Select yearling purchase, a daughter of a stakes winner in Key to My Heart. They're going to the turf with her now as soon as she goes to Chad Brown. And I think that's what people are going to jump all over, because Key to My Heart was an exceptional runner on turf, being by Galileo. Quality Road on top, can throw a turf runner, although he's not necessarily known for that being kind of his go-to angle as a stallion. But I just think there's other horses in here that are interesting. The 4, Ali Mara, is coming off of a nice maiden win, where this horse rallied boldly in through the stretch to get up and win. You have Novara, who's knocking on the door, was beaten less than a length in allowance company as well. You have a recent maiden winner in Fundamentally for Jose D'Angelo on the outside. So I just think that Pride's Crossing is going to get overbet, going to Chad Brown, going to the turf for the first time. And I'm going to fade her, expecting her to be very short in here.
Yeah, you mentioned the well, Pride's Crossing, Chad Brown, but you also mentioned the other Brown in here that I like more than Pride's Crossing as well. Ali Mara, she is making her first start at 12 months or nearly 12 months in this spot, but she ran, I thought, a really good race at Tampa last year, which she won by a neck over Segestra. Segestra came back in her next race, broke her maiden. In her next race, she won the Grade 2 Wonder again. In her next race, she ran second in the Grade 1 Belmont Oaks and then headed to the sidelines. So she was heading places. So to say Alamara, I thought that was a good maiden race on March 9th of last year at Tampa. I think it's an understatement, and I like her chances better than Pride's Crossing.
Nothing to add here. This was almost my fate as well. Just the fact that it's a Chad Brown runner trying turf for the first time, which he certainly is good at training these horses to be ready first time on the turf. But there's other horses here with turf experience who have raced farther. So I would prefer to play elsewhere as well. And I will take it back to what we saw earlier. The fate of the week for me is number 2, Captivating Sound at 5-2 at Tampa in race 2. This is a 7 furlong claimer for fillies and mares who have never won 2 races. And this is a daughter of Audible who's dropping in class today. Finished an 8-length 5th in a $25,000 claimer at 6.5 furlongs, and then was beaten a half-length 2 back at today's distance, facing a similar class level, but doesn't seem to like this track. Is 0 for 6 at Tampa and also 0 for 3 at the distance. So I'm going to look elsewhere. There's a few in here that I think have a chance that I would rather play at a better price. So I am fading this daughter of Audible.
Going with another one of those claimers.
Yeah, I know. I'm all about the claimers today.
Yeah, I mean, 1 for 14 lifetime. And I mean, running against a series of horses that have been, rather picture shy. But yeah, I would definitely prefer a horse like Oops Haha last time out, who's now cutting back in distance off the speed fade angle. Expect Jenna's Mercy to run well here. Also on the cutback and the slash from 16,000 down to 8. I would take either of those two over the chalk here.
Yep. All right, well, it's time for our promos and tournaments at TwinSpires. So what's going on, Darin?
Yeah, so we're in Derby mode. So we have the road to the Kentucky Derby money back, and it makes a couple of stops. One on this side of the Atlantic and the other on the other side. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Derby, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, is a road to the Derby race. That's the 11th at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday. So we'll be offering you a money back for second and third up to $10. And Friday, we have a race at Dundalk. It's the William Hill Top Price Guarantee Patent Race. It's actually a Kentucky Derby points race at Dundalk, race number 7. So if international racing is your flavor, you're going to get a money back opportunity there as well. And Tampa Bay Downs is the host of the Tampa Bay Derby, so the entire card is eligible for the Tampa Bay Derby Day Profit Boost. 15% win, exacta, trifecta, daily double, boosting your winnings all day long. So be sure to be opted into all these great offers. Going to kind of corner the market here on the big card at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday. Talked about tournaments. Obviously, the headliner this Saturday is, again, Tampa Bay Downs. $500 Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge qualifier. We are guaranteeing 2 seats up for grabs to make it into the $5,000 entry, $250,000 prize pool guaranteed tournament on Kentucky Derby Day itself. So be sure to be entered into that. We'll have a bonus feeder Friday on the day before as well. What that means is on that tournament, once we get to 10 entries, instead of it being 1 seat for every 5 players, it becomes 1 seat for every 4 players. So a little bit of acceleration in terms of those seats. And then, we'll roll right along all next week and lead our way through Kentucky Derby season. But be sure to be invested in the Tampa Bay Downs Kentucky Derby qualifier. And also, you're going to start earning tour points. The TwinSpires tour is on the road to the Kentucky Derby all month of March. And when you play in tournaments, you're going to earn points. You don't have to do anything extra. You're just going to watch yourself move up the monthly long leaderboard. And if you finish in the top 3 at the end of the month, you're going to share in $5,000 worth of prize money just for playing in our tournaments. So be sure to check out the tour leaderboard and see how you're doing in terms of your performance all month long in the TwinSpires tournaments as well.
Well, as Darin mentioned, there's a lot going on at Tampa, and we're going to give our picks for the Tampa Bay Derby. But first, there's a couple other races to watch this weekend. Darin, what else are you watching out for?
Yeah, Gulfstream Park, they've got the Hurricane Birdie. It's a really great Grade 3 event. A really good showdown between Nick Style and Spirit Wind. Spirit Wind has won 50% of her lifetime starts. Nick Style is 6 of 7 lifetime. So something's got to give here. This could be a grade 3 race, but you have to imagine that both of these fillies are going to be probably prominent in grade 2, grade 1 company, maybe Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint aspirations for both of these as well. Nick Style drawn down to the inside, so maybe a slight advantage to Spirit Wind, as Junior Alvarado could be forced to make a decision pretty early on here. But he's on a filly that doesn't like to lose. Spirit Wind doesn't like to lose. Really good race for a grade 3 at Gulfstream. So looking forward to seeing that showdown as well. And also just wanted to give a shout out to track announcer Trevor Denman, announced his retirement from calling races today. And Trevor was a guy that I certainly grew up listening to. Had the best of both worlds. We would watch, Saratoga, Belmont. You'd get Tom Durkin on the East Coast, and that would slide into Santa Anita or Del Mar, and you'd get Trevor Denman on the West Coast. And listening to both Tom and Trevor kind of built my aspirations to be a track announcer and got me into that field for several years. And certainly going to miss hearing his race calls and appreciate a lot of the good ones. And wish him well in retirement, and hopefully we'll see him around the racetrack.
You putting in your application to replace him?
No, that's I will say this: as much as I love calling races, and I really did, I got to call races at some great racetracks, Monmouth Park and Parks and the Meadowlands. When you're married with kids, the moving around to go from track to track and call races becomes a little bit demanding. So I think unless somebody asks me to fill in for them a day here or there, or pop on up to the announcer's booth and call one, I think my race calling days are probably behind me.
Understandable. James, what about you?
Well, I just want to say that shout out to Trevor Denman was very fitting by Darin. And I'm going to focus. We talked a little bit earlier about the Columbia on the Saturday undercard at Tampa. I'll mention 2 other stakes. First off, the Grade 2 Hillsborough. It's for fillies and mares at 1 1/8 on turf. And this race has the U.S. Day. Well, first off, I just want to say Grand Motion has number 1 Sparkle Blue in the field. She's making a title defense in there. But the horse from the Motion Barn that everybody's interested in seeing is number 7. Give me another. Give me another. And who is 7 for 7 in South Africa, a multiple Group 1 winner. We've seen some South African runners come over to the U.S. the last couple seasons. I think Give Me Another has better credentials than any of them. So she's got a shot to be a big-time performer in the filly and mare turf division in the United States. Of course, Chad Brown has 3 runners in here. Spaladay is making her first start since winning the Grade 2 Lake Placid last fall. But the one to fear, I think, is Saffron Moon. Looked like she was shot out of a cannon last time out in the Endeavor, and she's looking for 2 straight there at Tampa. And then I'll also mention the Grade 3 Challenger Stakes. It's on the undercard as well. Number 8, Skippy Log Stalking, has won this 1/16 race by open lengths the last 2 years. He's undefeated at Tampa, loves the track. And let me just say, Locked was all out to edge him by a neck for second in the Pegasus World Cup last out. He's in good form right now for Safi Joseph. But this will be it'll be exciting, I think, to see him square off against number 6 Most Wanted, who is coming back and is looking to make an impact as a 4-year-old for Brad Cox. Most Wanted did not make his career debut till late June last year. He immediately won his first 4 starts, including the Grade 3 Oklahoma Derby and the Ellis Park Derby. And it took a huge effort by Rattle and Roll, Grade 1 winner Rattle and Roll, who had a prep for the Clark, for him to beat Most Wanted narrowly by less than a length last time out. So to say Most Wanted, he's been working with all these Cox horses at Payson Park, been working in company. You can look at his workout tab line. There's bullet works in there. I think he's probably been holding his own against some good ones. And I'm excited to see Most Wanted open his 4-year-old season in the Challenger Stakes.
It's going to be a good head-to-head matchup there. Short prices either way.
And there's some other decent ones in there, but those are the 2 main principles in my mind.
And I am taking it to Oaklawn Park because reigning horse of the year, Torpedo Anna, is making her 4-year-old debut in the Grade 2 Azeri. And James, you had a chance to talk to Kenny McPeak down at Fairgrounds where she's been training. She's been looking pretty sharp in the mornings, and she drew the rail post here. Really should run away with it. She's 2 to 5 on the morning line, speed figures wise, brisnet prime power wise. She's just a step above her competition, but she obviously had a great campaign last year, which earned her Horse of the Year and champion 3-year-old filly. And in her last 7 starts, her only loss was by a head in the Travers against males, beaten by Fierceness. So excited to see what she does in her first start back as a 4-year-old. I'm expecting more great things to come. And there's a little
She really
footage
showed an
Joanna.
affinity for Oaklawn Park last year. And when we talked to McPeak at Fairgrounds last month, he said that the plan was probably run her Usis Azaria as a prep for the Apple Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
They have been considering Dubai, the World Cup in early April for her, but it looks like they're probably going to keep her in the U.S., which makes me happy because these horses that don't go overseas, they have the opportunity to run in more races. They don't necessarily need months and months and months off after those starts.
And let's take it back to Tampa Bay for the Tampa Bay Derby, and we're going to give our picks in that race. So, James, I'll start with you. Who was your top pick in the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby, which is going to award 50 points to the winner?
Yeah, I got number 2, Chancer McPatrick. He's coming back. You know, he basically won the Hopeful and the Champagne at one-turn distances. I'm not sure a mile and a quarter is going to be up his alley, but I think the 8.5 furlongs is a perfect fit for him. And I think he's going to get a good setup with Owen Almighty showing speed and Patch Adams and potentially Brodeur being prominent from the break too. So I'll give it the edge to Chancer McPatrick off the bench.
Darin, what about you?
Yeah, for all the same reasons about pace, I went to a slightly better price with number 3, Hill Road. This horse came to the Breeders' Cup last year off a couple of turf tries and ran a very good third that day. And the thing that I admired about the effort was that he's really the only horse that ran on it all from the back in that race. A lot of horses, including Chancer McPatrick, were well back, whether it be because of poor trips or poor starts. Hill Road certainly didn't get off to a good beginning that day, and he's the only one that made up any ground. He's by Quality Road out of a Lemon Drop Kid mare. Could just be that this is a dirt horse, and he accelerated on dirt last time out, and it's going to be interesting now in the barn of Chad Brown to see what he can do. The blinkers are going on here, so I expect him to get a favorable pace setup as well, and I think he's going to offer a little bit better of a price.
I almost went with it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he's right. He is the only horse to make up ground on that juvenile. He was way far back. So he stopped the first, second, and fourth place finisher for running 1, 2, 3 all the way around. That effort is better than it looks on paper, I think.
Yeah, he had a 119 late pace rating, a 101 overall, which is better than the last out figure for Chancer McPatrick. I almost went with Hill Road here. I did feel like Chancer McPatrick's workouts were a little sharper if you go off the numbers there, but ultimately I went with Patch Adams. I do predict that maybe Hill Road will take a little bit of money, so I might get a better price than 2 to 1 on Patch Adams, but I'm looking for improvement off that 4th in the Southwest. He had a bobbled start and he just flattened in the stretch there, finishing behind Speed King. But Brad Cox is a 29% winner, second started a route, and Florent Giroux regains the mount. So hoping to get a little bit better than 2 to 1 at post time and back in the far outside with Patch Adams.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what his tactics are, because you know that Owen Almighty is going to go from the rail, and Brodeur seems to have one way of going, and that's toward the front as well. So, how aggressive does Florent Giroux get here? Obviously, the bobble at the start probably took him out of contention in the Southwest Stakes. If he goes, it ensures a really good clip up front. If he allows Brodeur and Owen Almighty to duke it out, he could sit a Garden Trip third just behind the speed, potentially maybe sitting outside of Naughty Rascal. So it'll definitely be interesting to see the type of trip he gets here and how aggressive they are with him.
The thing with Patch Adams was his first 2 races were at a sprint last year, and I mean he was brilliant the second time out, winning by 10. But he's by End of Mischief, and his female family is absolutely geared towards longer distances. You would think he should have no problem stretching out the 2 turns with his pedigree, but he faltered mightily in that Southwest. So be interesting to see. It's a redemption process for Patch Adams and East Avenue in their next starts, and Patch Adams in the Tampa Bay Derby. Both those horses were odds on and ran terribly in their comebacks. So we'll see if Patch Adams can turn things around.
I think Patch Adams ran a little bit better than East Avenue. East Avenue,
yeah, he did. No,
East Avenue just had no interest whatsoever.
Better being Florida compared to last or next last. Yeah.
Well, we will find out what happens this weekend. A lot of exciting racing, but that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires Jury. Again, head to KentuckyDerby.com for those tickets for the spring meet and Kentucky Derby week, and to see the recipes for the menu that's been released. And we will be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.